It was the best of times. It was the worst of times, but at least they won. Louisville pulls out a victory, which is all that matters. But, man, there is a lot to discuss defensively. What the hell is happening? I still don't quite understand. Offensively, a star continues to be born. Can you continue to be born? A star is born. A star was born. Isaac Brown showing up to be one of the most dominant running backs as a freshman in the country, propelling this Louisville offense, played a major role. We'll dive into all the positives as well as some of the things on offense that have got to improve and what is going to be done to stop the penalties. Louisville's biggest issue, discipline. We'll dive into all of that tonight on From the Pink Seats podcast. Jacob Lane, producer Keith, Vince Lococo. Roll the intro. Let's go.
It's a conference road game, and you got away with a win. So that's the positive.
From the Pink Seats podcast, Jacob Lane, producer Keith, Vince Lococo. We are back recapping a Louisville victory over Virginia tonight. A ton to get into. We thank you all so much for tuning into the show. If you haven't already, subscribe. If you're watching on YouTube here right below the video. If you're listening on audio, subscribe, rate, review. We thank you all so much for listening each week. You make the show possible, and we want to continue to grow our content. So please review, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. We've got a lot to get into tonight on another jam-packed show as Louisville picks up a big victory over Virginia in a game that up until the final moments for the first time this season, I had lost all confidence that victory was coming for the first time.
I saw that.
And we've lost 2 weeks in a row. Yeah, right. Exactly. The season's over. Got hit with a lot of not so fast, which is exactly what I knew was coming. But a victory nonetheless. And as I said in the YouTube intro, a victory is all that matters at this point. You live to fight another day in the ACC. In a long season, you never know what can happen. You pick up a much-needed victory over a very, very dangerous Virginia team. And you live to keep fighting, as I said. So tonight we'll dive into all of that as we don't really know what is ahead for this. Like at this point, we don't know what this team is. I think that's one of the biggest takeaways from this weekend. But before we get into all of that, gentlemen, how we doing? Keith, Vince, it's great to see you all.
Doing all right. Just locking myself up in the editing hole after the game, hunkering down for a busy week of putting out content for this lovely, lovely audience. Definitely didn't just binge an obscene amount of college football yesterday and spend half the day today just trying to recover.
Yeah. Vince, how are you?
I finished The Sopranos. So
yeah, okay.
For the first
How'd you like that ending?
I thought I didn't. This is what I was texting my buddy Jordan about. I didn't realize that. I knew it ended abruptly, but I didn't know. I always thought she made it into the diner. I didn't realize. Well, spoiler alert! If you make sure you throw that in there,
I was gonna say,
you never know. Yeah,
me never seeing a single episode of this where I say spoiler alert.
But yeah, finished that. So it was it's definitely an emotional weekend.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely an emotional weekend. Yeah, emotional roller coaster for you. I went to the zoo today, which, as we were talking about before, Vince, the show and our audience knows that you're a big zoo lover. Yes. Got to go out there actually for the first time. Believe it or not, things have been really busy with football and just life in general with two kids. We've had a membership that we had renewed since August, and it is now, so we record this Sunday, October 13th, and today's the first day that we've gone to the zoo this season. So got out there. We were a little rusty, the 3-year-old running around, kind of getting away from the parents. A couple of times, some questionable amount of distance between us. But overall, they listened, and did a good job. They wanted to go on the merry-go-round. Every time, man, it's always like meltdown as soon as you walk in. That's my biggest gripe with the zoo. We got to move that damn merry-go-round. Put it somewhere else.
You got to do it at the end. You got to do merry-go-round at the end, for sure.
That's what I'm saying, man.
Yeah.
They put the most expensive stuff like right at the beginning, like the face paint. And not that the merry-go-round is expensive. I shouldn't say that, but it's more that the kids just want to get on it as soon as you get in there. And I need some distance to get them going, like get the momentum built up, and then we can stop for that.
As soon as you text about the zoo, I had to, throw in my yearly, hey, Jacob, I hope this isn't weird, but I'd love to go to the zoo with you and your family just to go to the zoo at nighttime because night zoo is pretty sick.
Yeah. Well, when we go, here's the deal. You can go with us if in exchange for allowing me to have a Vince cam where we just film your reaction to all of the animals and all the attractions, and then we can make some content. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that is fair.
Football guy loves the zoo.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Shocker.
well,
Football guy has a heart.
That's right. Exactly. He loves the animals. That's right. But enough zoo talk. Let's dive into the football game this weekend for Louisville, which, as I mentioned, a much needed victory. They moved to 4-2 on the year, 2-1 in the conference, with a 24-20 victory over Virginia. And honestly, I know we didn't really give score predictions, but I expected this to be more like in the mid 30s type of scores for Louisville. I thought this was really going to be one in a shootout, just based off of the fact that obviously Louisville's secondary has been kind of questionable, haven't been able to stop the quarterback run. They do the bend, don't break thing this weekend, but it seemed like Virginia really could have, at some points, really kind of busted open the defense for even more. Like, I mean, you're talking could potentially have, it felt like at times another 100+ yards, maybe another 14 points. But overall, it was a fairly low scoring output compared to what I thought. These teams both had their moments of, big plays and being able to move the ball. They both had sustained drives. They both had, 3 and outs. There was, only one turnover in this game from Louisville, but both had questionable special teams decisions. It was really just an up and down game. And honestly, like I say this with all due respect, I know Virginia is up and coming. I know not up and coming. I turning things around under Tony Elliott. Let's just say that. But this to me felt like a game that Louisville, at any other time, if you played this game, I felt like they would have won by 14 to 21 points. I could be alone in saying that, but it just, to me, talent wise, it just felt like Louisville was much better than this team, and it didn't pave out in the scoring.
I know I didn't. Like, if we would have had to throw a score prediction out there, I don't know what I would have, actually thrown out there, because I didn't know what to expect of our football team. How are they going to come out after these 2 losses? How disciplined are we going to be? What's the play calling going to look like? All these questions. I didn't really know what to expect. Defensively, it felt like it was a more of a bend, don't break type deal. I mean, they definitely gained a lot of yards, and every time Calandra dropped back for a pass, I kind of held my breath a little bit, because I didn't know if it was going to be a big play with his legs or be a big play with his arm. For me, offensively, I mean, it wasn't that bad. I didn't, I think the play calling obviously could have been a little bit better. But outside that, I mean, not as bad. Keith, we discussed last week, Wednesday, I believe, about less pulling and stuff like that. And it seemed, I don't have a stat sheet in front of me to identify how much they ran a counter, to power, to outside zone stuff, but it seemed like they ran a little bit less of that. I know I saw some in the game, but
well, I know one play they did run it on. The 4th and 1, they tried to run a pin and pull.
Exactly.
And of course, we didn't convert, which I can't even blame it on the pulling aspect of that though. That was just Niagara got caught in a scrum at the line of scrimmage, didn't get to a second level to get a chip on a Mike backer so he could just fire in and blow up the play. But
I mean, it just seemed like guys were getting on second level defenders a lot more today, which anytime you do that, as an offensive lineman, you're likely going to be winning the battle up front. It was a nerve-wracking day overall for me. I'm not going to lie. The entire game, I was unsettled. We talked about it on Sunday last week. We talked about it on Wednesday last week. I mean, Virginia, every year that I was there, was a 1-score game. It's always a game like this where it's coming down to the last couple drives that matter, and it's whoever's going to hold or make a mistake.
So my thoughts on the game. First off, it's a conference road game, and you got away with a win. So that's the positive.
That's right.
I think, to steal a bit from Mike Rutherford, I'm going to do the stereotypical sports jock thing of comparing sports to a relationship. When someone shows you who they are over and over and over again, eventually you have to believe them.
Right.
And this Louisville team has now showed me who they are for 3, or hell, even how we looked against Jack's State.
It goes all the way back to Jack State, yeah.
4 or 5 games now. I just thought this team was more talented than it actually is. Like, I thought the guys who were going to be above average to good players I thought that was going to be a lot of our lineup, and a lot of our lineups just Jags, just a guy. So putting that sort of glasses on this team, this score makes a lot more sense. But I still was just hoping like, oh no, we've got the talent to hang. This is a very good football team. We should be able to blow the brakes off of a team like Virginia that has 4 or 5 studs. When I was looking at this Virginia team, should have been looking in the mirror, because these were 2 very similar football teams, and Louisville just so happened to come out with the win.
Yeah, the statistics bear that out. Like seriously, and the where there's numbers that kind of spike in different areas, it's really interesting. They don't correlate to how the game finished, right? Like third down, for example. That's the one I'm going to keep harping on. 3 for 10 for Louisville on third down, but 8 of 19 on third down for Virginia. Go ahead, Keith.
So one thing I wanted to touch on before we get sort of into the breakdown, you mentioned this sort of being a higher and lower kind of game, and that just really made me think of our friends over at Underdog Fantasy. It's the greatest time of year. Football is back, and it's here to stay. You can win up to 1,000 times your money just by choosing higher or lower on your favorite players' stats, like touchdowns, passing yards, and more. Making picks on Underdog is straightforward, and signing up is even easier. Just head over to Underdog's simple-to-use mobile app or UnderdogFantasy.com and sign up with promo code PINKSEATS. And Underdog will give you a free pick to use on your first cash pick'em entry, plus up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you deposit. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code PINKSEATS to claim your new customer special of a free pick and your deposit offer. Must be 18 plus and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncpgambling.org. Arizona, 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT STEP to 53342. New York, call the 24/7 Hope line at 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Thanks, Underdog Fantasy.
Take that bet and bet Max Holloway to knock out Ilya Tapora. Just do it. Just do it.
Yeah, I love it. Look at that. Keith, give us the update. How was your Underdog Fantasy experience this weekend?
Swung and missed on a couple of items. Swung and hit on a couple of items, but overall, just took a big daddy hack this week. On the Louisville game picks I made, Tyler Shuck had that chuck and pray interception late that kneecapped my interceptions lower total selection on Tyler Shuck, and the team did a great job of not letting Calandria get into the end zone. I can say I was muttering a little bit under my breath when they brought in Brusterhouse for that 1-yard quarterback sneak attempt on the first drive. I'm like, oh, you sons of give the ball to Calandria.
Yeah, I love that. That's the challenge with betting on the other team's players is you start to find yourself rooting for certain guys to get in the end zone. But when you speak of Anthony Calandria and you look at the run game in this, I think that really told the story for Virginia. And I was just doing a quick check because, I think one of the things that's really interesting, we went into this game talking about the impact of Xavier Brown, of Kobe Pace, and overall, when you look at it, I mean, shit, Louisville did a pretty damn good job limiting those guys. Kobe Pace had 10 carries for 38 yards. So you're talking about 3.8 yards per carry for him, a very dynamic back who had been well over 100 yards a couple of times this season. And then Xavier Brown, while I will give you the one catch for 46 yards late in the game, is like, well, fuck, Keith was right. Damn it, Xavier Brown's gonna fuck us. But he didn't ultimately, but still rushing 8 carries for 19 yards. I will take that average all day long. This defense showed up. They did their part. It really comes down to a lot of the things that happen in between, right? The penalties, the mistakes, yes, in some regards, the spotting, we just keep reviewing plays, having enough evidence to leave it as is, and we're like, nope, fuck it. We're gonna overturn it for the sake of it. And then every time, I'm telling you, almost every time, I can't remember which play it was. This one, they always will give Louisville the makeup call, like right after, where it's like, come on, guys, like just do your job right the first time, and we wouldn't get here. But overall, for Louisville, you would have felt a lot more comfortable in this game statistically had you not allowed Malachi Fields to have that massive third quarter in which he has 70 of his 125, targeted 8 times. I mean, they just feasted on Louisville's defense in the third quarter. We're going to get into that in just a second in Vince's game notes. But overall, Louisville did their job outside of Anthony Colangelo and the run, right? Can we agree on that?
Yeah, we got kind of beat up in the passing game, I thought.
Yeah.
They should have
But in the
had
run.
more. But Calandria, not the greatest passer in the world, and I never said that in my evaluation. I said he's very fun.
He's a lot of fun.
But he missed a few opportunities. But yeah, Malachi Fields and Tyler Neville, man, they just
I like Tyler Neville.
They tore our asses up.
They use Tyler Neville the way that Louisville should use Jamari Johnson and Mark Redmond, like for sure. So, Jeff, take some of that, put it in your back pocket, throw him the freaking ball more often, please. Go ahead, Keith.
So, my thought on why we aren't seeing the tight ends so often, are we having to keep them in for max protects or extra protection more often than not on passing downs when we're in that type of personnel?
Probably having to throw a little bit more of a chip in that causes them to not actually be able to get out into their route,
Yeah.
Same with the running backs and stuff like that. I mean, the thing that got me in this game was definitely the penalties. Like that, if you take out all of these stupid, I mean, I get a holding call every once in a while, but like like a Donajay Green penalty, one just coming off the top of my head, the Chris Bell
penalties,
Chris Bell crackback. What's the other ones he had? Keith,
he had a false start
and an unsportsmanlike.
Exactly,
so he had well over 30 yards of penalty offense penalty yardage by himself.
And that's all correctable stuff. It's like it's so frustrating seeing that. At this point, how are you going to say it's not correctable?
Because I have a track record.
I've seen a kid do enough up downs to where it's correctable.
But at this point, you're talking about last year. You go back to the UK game. We're just going back to last year, and I know this is just last year, but you're talking about the first kickoff of the game. It was obvious Chris was looking for a fight. Very obvious. This year, you've had SMU, you've had Notre Dame. I think he had one early against Georgia Tech. I mean, you're talking about 4 games in a row this year where one person has been responsible for not in the game penalties. The offside or the false start, I'll give you that. But the 40 yards behind the play, the uppercut against SMU, like there's a track record now, of Chris Bell producing these stupid penalties that absolutely kill drives for Louisville.
Yeah, I agree. They're killing drives, but I mean, they are correctable at the end of the day. You give him 50 to 100 up downs per penalty, and
I'm here for
basically make him do up, and eventually it corrects itself. He's
NIL
too good of a ball. He's too good of a ball player to not have on the field.
No, you can't.
And it's like,
here's the thing.
I'm chalking it up to him being young and just getting his feet wet. I mean, he's 4 or 5 games in, right? 4 games this year. 4 games. Yeah, I mean, like he is just getting his feet wet with being that dude. And I honestly, I love the competitive fire, and I would much rather have a dude on my football team who's ready to fight somebody than the opposite.
It seems like, he's not a dick. Like he's not like
That's all.
He's not like a despicable, like we used to hear about guys who just like sucked, like would always be trying to start fights and would be an issue. It doesn't seem like that's Chris Bell. He gets caught up maybe more in the moment. But at the same time, though, I think it's what I'm going to call in the moment the Malik Cunningham effect. There's nobody behind Chris Bell. No one else is getting those reps. They don't have another receiver who's consistently putting enough on the field to be able to say, hey, you go out and you spell him. And I have evidence of that because Chris gets that penalty late in the third, fourth quarter and goes out and at the next drive makes a huge play. You know what I mean? So they don't have anybody else to turn to in those moments. All these transfer wide receivers, freshman wide receivers, star 2023 guys, no one's getting on the field. Like we don't have depth at that position. So Chris Bell can punch somebody in the face and come right back on the field the next play and have a 45-yard bomb down the field. And we have to live with the good and the bad. It is what it is.
Yeah. All I'm saying is it's correctable.
I hope so. I truly hope so. And I'm going to take your word for it because you would know better than I. But to me, I see a track record and a history that's starting to develop that you have to really worry about week to week. So let's do this real quickly, Keith. Let's transition to let's pull up our takeaways from the audience here. We asked right after the game this weekend for instant takeaways, just trying to get a pulse of where fans were at because it was really, obviously a lot of positives that you win, but the nitty gritty details. If you're a listener of this show, you know we're about to get into this, and you know they're not pretty and a lot of times. So I understood some of the really negative feedback of this team, but I also was vibing with a lot of the positive stuff. More so, not the day of. Later prepping for the show was I good with the positive stuff. So let's do this. We'll start here. Gerald Tubb at Gerald Tubb says, we look sloppy, undisciplined, and very vanilla. Super disappointed with the season so far. I'm going to try to be careful and I don't want to name call, but the penalties are reminiscent of a former boss of Jeff Brom. And I don't know if it's like that's like his tree, if that's just their bugaboo is penalties, but in undisciplined football. But we now have 2 years, again, talking about a track record of this team consistently doing dumb stuff penalty-wise. Unsportsmanlike conduct. Say what you will. Vince, you called it out. You cannot block below the waist. You cannot do cutback blocks. Like, those are no longer allowed.
As much as I absolutely love them.
Right.
Like, if you go back and watch any of this, if you ever watch any of the games I played in as a football player, I guarantee you will see about like 5 crackback blocks and just in those clips. Like, I love that shit. But at the same time, it's taught, and I know for a fact it's taught, and I know for a fact it's coached for them to turn their back, and it's a specific way to block it nowadays where it's like a move. I mean, you just turn your back and basically run by the guy almost, so like basically a block out type deal, a moving block out. But I mean, it's frustrating seeing shit like that.
So against FCS competition this season, or pardon me, FBS competition, so not counting the Austin P game, we're averaging 54.5 yards of penalties given up per game.
Yeah,
like,
that's
not.
And if you take that into consideration, the full schedule, you're talking about an average of 6 penalties a game and over 50 yards of penalty yardage. I mean, it is absolutely the difference of being undefeated right now and not being undefeated. I know there's been a lot of mistakes, but you can't look me in the eye, any of you all, outside of maybe SMU, but we've talked about this. I'm fairly certain Vince feels that Louisville was better than SMU. Keith, I know you've kind of had your take, but you can't look me in the eye and say that day Notre Dame was better than Louisville. Louisville shot themselves in the foot. Yes, Notre Dame dominated in the run blocking, washing out the linebackers was kind of its own thing that game, but Louisville should have won and had every opportunity to win. Yeah. Louisville should be undefeated. But if you go back and you look at the penalty offense or the penalty yardage for this team, it tells the story. It is what is on the film. They had 8 penalties for 53 yards this past weekend. Last weekend, they had 7 for 61. The weekend before, 6 for 50. I mean, come on. Eventually, you got to clean that up.
You give a team like Miami 50 free yards. I mean, you give Clemson 50 free yards. You give Kentucky 50 free yards. If you give the rest of our opponents the rest of the season for 50 free yards, you're probably going to end up losing that game. Like, you just can't do that. That's just imagine them hitting a big play. Just have the offense out there and have them throw a 50-yard bomb down the field.
Yeah, and it's not even just the yardage from the penalty. You're talking about the negated offense. Louisville had a game this season that had 90 yards of negated offense from penalty. That's just on offense. Yeah. Think about what they've done this year on special teams. Shit, the freaking play after the game this weekend with the offsetting penalties, you know, from the personal foul standpoint. They've done that multiple times where they've given a team 15 yards on the kickoff. I mean, it's at this point, man, we are 7 weeks in. It's bullshit. It is absolutely bullshit for a team that should be this good with this much talent to be putting up this experience. I mean, shit, Louisville's got a 7th-year quarterback. I know that's not the like overall like landscape for everyone on this team, but come on. At some point, these 5th and 6th-year guys have got to stop committing stupid penalties.
Hey, we had a delay of game at a very pivotal moment that, while it not entirely on the quarterback, you've been playing that long, you got to know. You got to snap the damn ball on 4th and 1, not eat a delay a game. But
and what is up this weekend with like is it a fake no huddle where you look like you're going to get into a play real quick and then you decide last second to huddle? They did that probably 3 times. I really there is a communication issue that I just am not understanding with this team, from substitutions, penalties, stuff like even with the running back quarterback. If you go back and watch this game, how many times Tyler Shuck had to move Isaac Brown, Donald Chaney. I mean, it's constantly, these guys just are not, the attention to details is a mess.
Protection. running back, I'm not going to give. I'm going to give benefit of the doubt from getting moved. I hear what you're saying for sure, but running back, I give the benefit
It's
of the
just
doubt
a
because
sloppy
they moved
thing.
for protection.
So the other part of that tweet that I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are is the very vanilla look on the offense, because I sort of had like a aha sort of take during the middle of the day today. I was kind of saving it for the show. So do you think this Louisville team is talented enough to run a pro style offense? And what I mean by that is a lot of times you see teams, I mean, hell, look at Jeff Brom when he was at Purdue, and he strategically sort of, why a lot of people were expecting more of like an air raid look when he came here was because he ran more of a pass happy, get the ball out quick offense at Purdue, because he knew the linemen he were recruiting couldn't match up to a lot of the Big Ten competition they were playing against. So do we think that this team is talented enough to run a pro style, or do you think they need to run more of like a spread gimmick, or like Kentucky does against SEC opponents, where we are going to hold on to the ball, squeeze the air out of it, and make you play our game? Because we just don't have a style. Like we just
Yeah,
play
I just think
balance
they need
ball.
to take
I
more
mean,
shots.
look at
Yeah.
look at SMU. They don't necessarily have the most talented guys, especially on the line, because they lost all their players from the previous year to the portal and had to sort of spackle patchwork over that. But they have the spread, they have the motion, they have the tempo, they have the gimmicks to make them more competitive in games.
I just think we need to take more shots. I mean, it's in more designed shots, not just giving guys the option to run a certain route or something like that. I'm saying we'll run a post with a wheel coming up underneath of it, or the same thing we hit with Mark Redmond and the high school Harry with the wheel route coming behind it. It's like, why are we not scheming up more down the field? We clearly have the guys that can hit down the field.
Yeah.
So
to me, it's using the run game to try to set up the deep passing game. But in my opinion, it should be a mix of using the run game and the short passing game to set up the long passing game. I just don't think that anybody respects Louisville right now in terms of when Tyler Shuck drops back. Typically, for the most part, he's throwing the ball deep. Like there's just not much intermediate. It's either he's looking for Ja'Cory Brooks down the field, he's looking for Mari Huggins-Bruce, or he's throwing a 2-3 yard pass to Isaac Brown. We saw the dump down where he almost literally got Mari Huggins-Bruce killed.
Oh my God.
There's no short, quick game until they have to have it. The Mark Redmond third down conversion is a great example of that. The Jamari Johnson touchdown is a great example of that. I would like to see more curls, more slants, more let's get the ball to guys with, quick, get the ball out of our hands quick and take advantage of, or not take advantage of, but despite an offensive line that can't block, getting the ball out as quick as we can so that we can get these, because I'm with you. I think the tight ends are being used to block more than they are to actually go out in the passing game. We got to find a way to get them out in the passing game more, to utilize more of the quick game from the passing perspective, because I think that will benefit the long game. I mean, I just see them drop back so many times and have guys just blanketed because they know what's coming. Let's move on here. Let's go to the next one from Brennan Frawley on Twitter. He says 6 wins is the ceiling. I would personally only favor us over Stanford when looking at the remaining schedule. I think there's two schools of thoughts on this. There's the we're going to upset Miami and we're back thought, and then there's the thought, which I tend to find myself more in right now, and that's the Stanford is the only remaining win on the schedule thought. And I don't really know where to go with that. I don't know what you all think.
Pull the schedule up real quick so I can accurately.
Well, I got you right here. So we have Miami this weekend, Miami coming off a bye week. Then we're turning around on a short week, going to Chestnut Hill on Friday night. Boston College plays on Thursday this week, so they will have an extra day of rest going into that game. And then we're coming off of that, going to Clemson, and Clemson will be coming off a bye week coming into our game. Then we have a bye week. Then we go out west to play Stanford, come back home to play Pitt, and then we go down the road to Lexington to play them.
Yeah. See, I would favor us in likely games we should be favored in. Now, granted, I've voiced that I'm nervous about BC at this point multiple times since completely discrediting them in the preview show for the season. So I think we should be favored in BC, Stanford, and in my opinion, I think we're better than Pitt. So
Yeah, I could see that. Pitt this weekend put up a real stinker against Cal.
we're home too against Pitt. Yeah, so we're home against Pitt. I think we'll be favored.
Senior night,
now,
right?
the rest
So
of them being Miami, Clemson, and UK.
Kentucky.
Obviously, your big three of those. Yeah, I'm really nervous about.
I don't necessarily think 6 wins is the ceiling. I think we're probably only going to be favored against Boston College and Stanford. And that's just because, for whatever reason, the opening lines, like Vegas is favorable on Louisville. And I hope they're seeing something I don't. We could possibly also be favored against Pitt. We're going to learn about Pitt a lot over the next few weeks. They got a bye week this week coming up, but then they have to play against Syracuse, at SMU, and then against Virginia, and then against Clemson before they play us. So we should learn a lot more about this Pitt team over the coming weeks. That's one where I still think that's in the 45 to 55% category. So we could be favored in 3 more games this season. I think we'll be favored against Boston College unless we just get our teeth kicked in
this weekend.
And then
I'm with you.
And then we should be favored at Stanford just because they've looked when they're good. When they're good, they're okay. When they're bad, it's bad.
Yeah, right. I mean, at this point, though, with Ashton Daniels being in and out of the lineup, it's just they're probably one of the worst teams in the ACC. But that game is not about the opponent; it's about the trip out there. It's about the circumstances. Exactly. I'm still scared of that game. Okay, let's go to the last one here. This one is from at G Wood LT_55. We won in spite of ourselves. We won because Isaac Brown was the absolute best player on either side. At least substituting wasn't a problem. A lot of other issues.
Oh, I could not agree with you, G. I could not agree more, G Wood. I mean, substituting was the biggest thing for me the past 4 weeks. I think I've harped on the fact that we've had 12 men on the field, so to be able to, I mean, I shouldn't even be happy at the fact that our team didn't have a 12 person on the field penalty because that should be expected of a football team. But here I am happy that our football team did that this week.
Congrats, guys.
Yeah, congrats. We had 11 people on the field.
Yes, the little things.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of a positive way because it's like we won. We shouldn't be hammering on the team as much as we are, but God, this was not a satisfying win.
Vince's game notes has a decent amount of positive stuff.
Okay, well, that's a great transition. We can roll into Vince's game notes now. We thank you all each week for contributing and giving us your thoughts on the game. I really enjoy reading through those. So if you haven't, or if you don't, follow us on Twitter at Pink Seats Pod. We're also on Instagram at the State of Louisville. So follow us there. Be sure to give us your thoughts on the game. A lot of good content. And with that being said, Keith, roll the tape.
It's time to get down to brass tacks. It's Vince's game notes with Vincent Lococo.
Now, I said this is more positive, but here I am with 2 plays to open it up there.
They were the first place of the game.
Yeah. So, I mean, they didn't really help themselves with this. But, to go, I guess I'm piggybacking off of last week with bad eyes and poor positioning. Kind of wild. Calandria had a day running the football with us. You'll see both of our defensive linemen here going down a gap, and they're taking the inside run and hit this next clip, Keith. The linebacker is supposed to have the outside gap, and you can clearly see if there was a stripe going down the middle of his helmet, his eyes would be going towards the running back right here. But his man is clearly supposed to be the quarterback, and safety is supposed to be coming up for force help. Hit the next one, Keith. This is where we're at on the end of the play. I mean, guys are chasing. All 3 of those guys that we've pointed out and talked about now are both chasing at a poor angle, and not a good way to start the game. And we also, hit the next one, Keith, because we're talking about bad runs and stuff here. Right here we have pre-snap. You can see where everybody's lined up. Hit the next one, Keith. You can see we have a guy supposed to be taking, or he is taking the running back on the dive right there, giving the quarterback a clear option. And again, linebacker's eyes, you can see his eyes straight at the running back, whereas, I mean, there's even a tight end defender coming out to block, and he's not even paying attention to him. And that ends up being, there might be another picture with this. I'm not sure. Yeah, ends up being a huge hitter. And yeah, that's where we end up at the end of this play, which for me is frustrating to see little things like that not be corrected by these guys. I mean, this is multiple weeks in a row where we've had to point out the eyes of the linebackers early on in the game. And I mean, that's not to say that, like I said, multiple weeks in a row now, this play, these eyes can be pointed out multiple plays throughout the game. I just don't want to sit here and make Keith input all these to this slideshow. All right, hit the next one. We're going to go a little bit more positive. Ashton Gelati getting on Jacob's coveted sack king board here with this. He gets put, we talked about it on Wednesday on the show. I highlighted getting him early in a one-on-one matchup to hopefully maybe fluster Calandria. Obviously didn't fluster him much because he still had a pretty good day. But hit the next clip. You'll be able to see where Ashton wins the rep. Right here is a good angle of it. You see him starting to lean, and perfect, exactly what you teach and coach on running the hoop. Anytime they're running the hoop in practice, they always have a coach that's leaning on them with one of those shoulder pads. So it's giving that pressure back so they can figure out, the proper weight distribution to get around this guy. And hit the next one, Keith. This is where you can really see it. You see where his elbow and his shoulder are. He's dug into this guy. You see the tackle is just completely bent over with no leverage, trying to scoop him up underneath and potentially get one of those clothesline holds that you see that happen to Ashton all the time throughout the game. But we were lucky enough to where Ashton ended up finishing this one with the sack. We are at hit the next one for me, Keith. Some more positive. So we've got a big run right here from Isaac Brown, one of the big ones on the day. And what I loved about this is how many guys get out onto the second level and how many guys hold their blocks on the second level. I mean, again, this is something picture perfect that Richard Owens loves to see on Sunday. And that's both of this guard and tackle. I believe it's the guard and tackle, right? No, center and guard, Keith. Is that center and guard right there? Yeah, because 76 is out. Yeah. So center guard working up there. And what I really love being wide receiver guy is seeing the wide receiver downfield here, also getting ready to break down and block and not just, running off and being lackadaisical about it. That is where the big plays happen in the run game. Whenever Isaac Brown busts these big runs, I want you all to pay attention to the second level defenders and where the wide receivers are blocking, because that'll tell how big the play is going to be every single time. Yeah, and here we are with the guys just finishing the block. I mean, you see with the wide receiver, it is right off his ass, giving him a clear direction of where he needs to be going, running the football. All right, hit the next play. We are at Isaac Brown's touchdown run. So this is awesome blocking right here with Jamari Johnson. This is like why Jamari Johnson was a heavy thought for my helmet sticker this week, was partially because of how he blocked. I mean, anytime tight ends block, it's so fun. Watch him out here in space, breaking down. Isaac made a great read, realizing the whole stuffed right there, and he's going to have somewhere to bounce on the outside. And I love the wide receiver breaking down the block right here as well. All right, hit the next one, Keith. So you can see it right here. They're both washing their guys down. Some would say, like, it's kind of a hard block for the wide receiver. And the wide receiver did exactly what he's coached to do. And he's kind of forcing him to the outside, realizing, hey, I can just keep washing him down, so that the running back has a clear direction to go. Next one for me, Keith. This was the bad spot right here that everybody's clamoring about. I had to throw it in there just for, personal purposes. You guys have any thoughts on this one? I mean, it was.
Yeah, Mike Rutherford said it best. We should put a big yellow line on the screen that helps us determine where the first down marker is, right? I mean, that would really be a good indicator, I think, of where a first down should be. But what do I know? Little old me that just watches games at home, figured that line would be accurate, but it never is. At this point, like, we're just going to spot check every Louisville third down, and we're never going to give it to Louisville ever. I have 0% confidence.
Yeah, seriously.
Leave no doubt, and they won't have to measure.
Look, man.
He's not wrong,
between
man.
Between that and the running back push, I just don't know what the refs were, what they were looking at.
Ooh, the running back push, man. If that would have made it in Vince's game notes, he'd be bitching for a whole nother show. Next clip. So I'm loving right here Jamari Johnson again. Man, that one yellow dot's going to bother me the whole time I'm talking. I want to let you listen.
Oh, I see it.
So if you see that, yeah, that's going to bother me the whole time I'm talking right here. So Jamari does a phenomenal. They probably call it an out call right here. This is a formation we had under Sack called Dumbo. I'm not sure what they call it in this offense. Or no, this wasn't a Dumbo. This would be a simple like Gator or troop that they motioned the tight end over to get a good read. But they likely called an out call with this tackle, forcing Jamari to go out and hit the next clip for me, Keith. You see how far out he gets. And again, head across right here, hands inside. He's washing this guy down. Would have loved to have seen this other guy get blocked right here, but, Ozzie Brown's good enough to where next clip he finishes the run and we're scoring a touchdown. So that was a huge play for us. Awesome to see it, all that. This right here, next clip, I want to highlight Ozzie Brown's vision right here. So look at this. He's got a three-way go. This defender to the far left is probably going to hit a spin move and close that gap for him. And for him to be able to have the patience right here and just be able to read it, because if he takes either one of those two guys to the left, he's likely not hitting as big of a run as he hits. And hit the next clip for me, Keith. This is the difference between, look at the feet right there. Look at how tight that is off of our offensive lineman. I mean, that is exceptional right there. I know this is a picture that our running back coach is absolutely loving. I mean, this is going to be great for the next 2 to 3 years with Isaac Brown. Hit the next one for me.
Better get that bag ready.
Don't we have a state of Louisville bag like that we could offer out, right? You got some McDonald's gift cards.
That's right. Yeah. Something in J-Town. You can go to the Gaslight Festival with Vince. That's our offer.
We can get you into Gaslight Festival for free. That's what we can do. So a favorite play of this show, the old high school Harry, that's been a trend for the past 3 years, at least that I've been on this show. Mark Redmond right here, beautiful job. But this play doesn't get made without Ja'Cory Brooks right here, because Ja'Cory's, in a way, he is the first read, because Tyler Shuck's going to take that post all day if they're not going to cover. I mean, that is just simple football 101. The post is there. Just take it. It's going to be a touchdown. But Ja'Cory has to make this post look like it is the most important route in the freaking world in order for this play to work. And Mark Redmond also has to sell this block. And you see him right here. I mean, to me, that's about as picture perfect for a guy breaking down the block as you can get. Clearly indicated all the linebackers are coming forward, thinking we're running this screenplay to Colin Lacey. And here we are, the next clip with Redmond slipping the block, which is exactly,
Look at the wall for Shuck, though. Sorry to cut you off, but look at that might be one of the few plays of the game where you can clearly state a victory for the offensive line.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jacob. That looks really good.
The wall of Shuck. I like it.
Yeah, but what people don't realize about this high school Harry move is the distance that you have to have in between the guy, because if you get too close to the defender, there's in all likelihood that they can grab you, and you are just a tight end at the end of the day running this route on a DB. They are faster than you. So, if you get too close and don't sell it well enough, then, you're kind of fucked. But Mark Redmond did a great job of slipping it right here. Hit the next one for me, Keith, where he's making the reception, and it was a big play for us downfield. Next one, not so pretty. So, numbers game here. 6 rushers, 5 defenders. One of the guys backs out. The guy standing up ends up backing out. I'm not sure if he adds on late. I can't exactly remember. But 6 on 5 right here. And I'm not sure why we slid the protection. It looks to be to the left here. To me, if you go back to last clip, Keith, it looks like the heavier side that you might want to be sliding the protection to would be to the right side.
Yeah.
And it looks like you want to move, hit the next clip. It looks like you want to move. That's why I circled the backs. It looks like you wanted to move that running back to the right. And we slid that protection to the left, and I think it just – Mendoza ends up leaving a free hitter, and that's bad. We're lucky Tyler Shuck got away with as weak of a sack as it was, because there was another world where he's picking up his head off of the freaking turf because of that play.
Go back one slide here, Keith. Look at that.
Yeah.
We're 1 of 6 on third down. Come on.
Yeah.
They won. So I can't say that's where games are made, but That's where games are made. I mean, that's the margin of victory right there. 50% versus 30%. It's not good.
Go ahead, Keith. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say on this play, like, it's easy to say Mendoza gave up the free rusher, but this one, ultimately, it's on Chuck, and I think that's Keywan in the backfield. And
I think that's Cheney right there, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. I don't want you to think I was putting blame on Mendoza.
Oh, no.
Yeah, he said you will not slander the offensive line.
Oh, trust me. I've got my thoughts on Mendoza, but
so do I, brother.
We're piling on him enough. When he doesn't do something wrong, we'll say. Because, like, as an O-lineman, you're taught, hold that inside, get an inside guy. If you're going to leave someone free, make it the outside guy. That appears to be the case. Yeah, like you said, Vince, running back should have been either on the other side of Shuck, gotten moved over if they're going to keep him in for protection. And also, good zone blitz concept. Fooled the offense. So
yeah. Fooled the mugged up linebacker always can cause fritzes for the offensive line, and even Tyler and the quarterback trying to make that pass protection check in the backfield. Next one's not going to be so pretty either. See, this is a simple, like, I'm pretty sure 99.9% of us have ran this on College Football 25, which is just the post with the shark wheel coming behind it. I mean, we were sitting there watching. We're like, that was shark wheel right here. We really just didn't defend shark wheel. So hit the next clip where you can see how awful our eyes are and where we're looking at. You can see right here where I'm not exactly – it looks like we're in a man coverage based off of where Corey Thornton's running and based off of how everybody's kind of moving and stuff. So I'm not sure even which linebacker is supposed to be covering this back out of the backfield at this point, because they're all mugged up. So it's kind of confusing for me at this point on who's taking that guy. But at the end of the day, even if you're mugged up, you should have had a better angle at it than what we're looking at right here with these guys. My assumption was it was probably one of those two. They're the usual suspects of the inside linebackers. So that was my guess.
That's their album cover right here. Just them two being circled, man.
It's frustrating, bro, that we're sitting here. I mean, there's multiple plays, like I said at the start of this, that could have been circled where bad eyes are a factor throughout this game.
It's especially frustrating. Like, Stan Kwan, I can at least get it. He's a redshirt freshman. But TJ, come on, man.
Yeah, I was banking on him getting Stan Kwan right. Not the other way around.
Another position where you don't have anybody else. Nobody else. All by myself. That's what TJ says every freaking snap, because he's the only guy that can play.
So this one also not so good. This is Tyler's interception that we're looking at. I just wanted to show everybody pre-snap what we're looking at here. I mean, we move our heads. What was the down and distance on this? Again, Jacob, 1 for 7 on third downs.
Yeah, we're telling on ourselves here.
Yeah, 1 for 7 on third down. 3rd and 13. I mean, Keith, you mentioned it earlier before we started recording, I believe, that this is more of a desperation heave, punt with the arm, if you will, in a lot of ways, which I'm kind of agreeing with you on. You hit the next clip. I mean, it's double coverage. Maybe have your guy go up and make a play at the end of the day. I'm not really chalking this up to Shuck being a bad quarterback or being a dumb quarterback or making poor decisions. I think it was more of a punt in a lot of ways, like he said, and maybe our guy can go up and make a play on the ball. So
this drive was so frustrating, man. So frustrating. You open with the 45-yarder to Chris Bell. You come back to Donald Cheney, who hasn't played a snap in probably 2 quarters. You go 0 yards on a check down. Mark Redmond gets the pitch to not take the sack from Tyler Shuck. And then on third down, you're intercepted. I mean, like, this drive, I wish I could just erase it from the memory books altogether. Just horrible.
So this is what, Keith, move our heads again. I need to see it down in distance. This might be like first down. I'm not sure.
3rd and 7.
3rd and 7. So this is what we have been clamoring on this show that they do on third down for multiple weeks at this point. This is the last clip I have for Vince's game notes, so we can talk more about what.
Can I say real quick? I'm sorry to cut you off. Can I just set this up? Chris Bell, the most brick hands I've ever seen to play before this. I mean, perfect, just like ready to go, just right off of them. Like like a brick wall. Like if you threw a football on a brick wall, that's what it would look like.
So we have been talking the past, 3-4 weeks of why are we not just running shallow crosses or crossing routes, meshes, anything like that on third down? and you see it here. Hit the next clip for me, Keith. Where we are, granted, I thought the ball should have been coming out at this point, right? Shuck held on to this ball a little bit too long for my liking. Ball should have been coming out right here, and there's nothing but space right there that he's working with. Hit the next clip, because you'll see why I say I think the ball should have been coming out. Oh man, I didn't mean to put that in there to make him look that
bad. I thought you wanted. I almost was tempted to get a picture of Ray Gun, the Australian breakdancer, and throw it in there with him.
That is actually perfect for it. Right there.
That's some tough tackling for him.
Back to that point of get your best ball players the ball in open space.
Seriously.
Run everybody off and run a shallow, run a drag, and just let. Coach Ponce used to say, "Let the shotties cook." Just let them cook.
Because
get Colin Lacey the ball in open space. He's a dog. He's gonna win against this. It's like me out there trying to tackle Colin Lacey. It ain't gonna happen. Like in open space like that, he's getting this first down 10 times out of 10 times, and this is what we need to be doing more on third down. This would prevent the 1 for 7, the 2 for whatever we are, 2 for 8, 2 for 9,
3 for 10 final stat.
Yeah. So whatever we were on third down at this point, that would have prevented a lot of it, running a lot of those plays.
Yeah, I'm with you. I keep saying this. Use the short, quick dunk passing play to set up more of the deep stuff. Like, you don't have to run the ball. And I was going to text you all this, and you might disagree, but like, I want to scream. Like, for 3 years, I've been like, Malik never threw the running back the ball, and he didn't get running backs drafted. And now I'm like, please stop freaking throwing the running back the ball. It's just a running play. That's all it is. Like, you're just.
I want to see three-step drop hitch on like 3rd and 4. 3-step drop hitch. Hit Jamari, hit Mark, let him catch it, maybe get 2 or 3 extra yards. It's just something simple. And then on the ball, you can go freaking no huddle, run all your shit because you're an 11 personnel at that point, and just get on the ball, run something quick.
I couldn't agree with you more, Vince, because then you beat a team with that 2, 3, 4 times. They start to push up where they either go like a cover 2 man look where they're really forcing up and pressing up, or maybe they go like 2 flats or cover 1 with a robber and leave themselves open to then do like everyone loves to see, the sexy play where Ja'Cory Brooks can take the top off the defense and go bust one open deep on a 3rd and 4 in the 3rd or 4th quarter. But
those plays set up my favorite plays with the tight end, the hitches, getting the tight end up on second level blocks. They set up my favorite where the tight end is connected and he blocks for like 0.23 seconds and then just slips out and goes right down the seam, and we just hit him with a nice little dump. I feel like they're setting up one of those to be ran sometime in the next couple of weeks, but we'll have to see.
Yeah. So, and the frustrating thing about this season has just been like some of my favorite plays, like the ones that I've rallied against this season just because they haven't worked. Like, I love screens. I love halfback swings, getting guys out in space, getting your elusive players the ball. Like, I will pray to whatever deity you tell me to. Give me some more meshes and some drags with Colin Lacey. Give me some swings. Get Isaac Brown the ball in space with a guy who's as physical as Chris Bell.
Those same side pitches. That's the play I highlighted with Jamari where he was out in open space and I had that extra dot out there. Was a same side pitch. Yeah.
Give me a
something
Texas
like
route
that where you can get the leverage.
Yeah.
What?
Like, we just need to start cooking, Jeff. Like, come on, man. Like, get in your bag. Get it together with the play calls, like sexify it up. Like, let's get going to what I know we're capable of here. Even if it's dink and dunks, dude, these guys can they can make plays. That's the thing. You know what I mean?
My kingdom for a smash concept on a 3rd and short.
Oh yeah.
What are you here for it? You know, I'm here for more of the 2 tight end personnel. Shit, give me 3 tight ends, man. Like, you went out and you got Isaiah Cummings and Julius Skinner to not play them. Like, come on, let's scheme. Whatever you want to say, you brought them in. Scheme it up. Scheme it up, coach. That's what I'm ready for. But you know what they did scheme up this weekend? They did, to their credit, for the first time in 2 weeks, scheme up some sacks. We are back for a Sack King race update.
Look at this graphic.
And
Oh
these
my
graphics,
God,
man.
beautiful.
No one said they were good. No one said that graphic design was our passion.
They're
or our
perfectly
job.
terrible
Or-
like us. It's just perfect. This is so pig seats right here.
This is it, man. This is what you get. We're still begging the boss man upstairs to give us more dollars for graphics, and maybe one day we'll overcome that battle. But for now,
You're just talking in the mirror.
That's right, man. That's right. You will give us more money. But we are back with some graphics, some statistical charts and data to update our Sack King race. And ladies and gentlemen, Ashton Gelati has re-entered the chat. And while it was just one sack, just like that, the race has heated back up, and we have an actual race. At the top, still Tramel Logan, who has not had a sack since I think he had a sack against Jacksonville State. I have Austin P listed twice here, but I think he did have one week too. But it's been a while. And then besides that, things have been really quiet. So this weekend we get a little bit of some new entries. We get some welcome backs, and things are all of a sudden a little bit interesting. And while you guys have been saying Adonijah, I made sure to emphasize the phonetic spelling of this. Adonijah Green gets his first sack on the season. And a very nice play following his
also punched somebody in the face.
Yeah, I was gonna say following his assault of another player on the field. Weak punch, man. If you're gonna punch somebody, just go all in and punch him. Let's just. But
the punch was so weak they couldn't even throw you out of the game.
That's right. They just called a penalty on you. That's the worst thing they can do. But the other new entry to the club this year, Ramon Purier, who my fellow Eastern Eagle, is determined that he is going to get at least one of every statistic. He's going to get a sack, a TFL, a fumble recovery, a forced fumble. He's going to probably get an interception at some point. I definitely think he's going to get an offensive touchdown before the year is over. My man is cooking on the stat sheet, continuing to stack it up. And then finally, as I mentioned, re-entering the club, Ashton Gelati. It is what it is, man. It's time to get going. I think we can end on a heater here and get a sack per game from this point on, ideally more. But in all honesty, guys, to kind of put a bow on this segment, 13 sacks on the year, it's a disappointment. No matter how much you spit PFF pressure stats at me or give me the quarterback hurries or whatever you want to do.
Those are just stats those are feel-good stats to make you feel good because you're not getting home for a sack.
That's right. We're not getting home, and we still weren't this weekend. We're making quarterbacks at least throw some arid passes, which I think is a good thing, but we got to start coming and getting these sacks and landing and celebrating and breaking out the sack dances. I'm here for it. I need more vibes, more energy. I think that's going to get everybody else going. It's kind of like a dunk in basketball is the sack in football. The sack.
That is a great comparison.
Yeah, right? Because like the defensive lineman celebrates an actual play happening, whereas like at one point in this game you had Tayon Holloway celebrating a ball that was overthrown by like 15 yards. I'm like, come on, this is why defensive backs are just the most diva football player on the field. Like you did nothing there. You got cooked. He threw the ball over your head. So Sack King race, we're getting going. And hopefully this time next week, we're talking about 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more sacks. And we can really get a race like we had last year.
I think they're going to scheme up Ashton, like you said, for one a game. Put him in a position where he will be in a one-on-one situation with a tackle. And hopefully it's a pass play.
He's got to start obviously getting home, but also when defenses are scheming up double teams, like we need some more guys to win a one-on-ones. That's at the bottom line. Like we need more. We also, I think at times that Scott Satterfield and Brian Brown are dressing up as Jeff Brom and Ron English on the sideline in Halloween costumes because we're going back to the rush 4 and it's not working. We got to scheme up some more blitzes. We got to. It's just the four-man rush is not good enough. It's not. No matter how you want to slice it, it's not. So
honestly, I wouldn't mind scheming some Mike blitzes just because it also gets them out of coverage. So that seems like a win-win to me.
the one I was thinking about maybe a secondary blitz, but then I was like, the one time we ran a cat blitz, we got beat on something.
Oh yeah,
there's no point in running that.
Hey guys, let's not forget how good Tamarion McDonald was earlier in blitz. Like, let's scheme up some more T-Mac blitzes. Like, that's my resolution for next week. More T-Mac blitzes. Let's get that going. because that's dangerous. Like, he is sneaky, slithery in pass coverage and being able to get to the quarterback. But let's get him to the quarterback more so than pass coverage stuff. So, all right, let's transition here before we hand out game balls and helmet stickers. Let's take a break on the Louisville talk and let's transition into my favorite segment outside of Vince's game notes and from the Pink Seats podcast history. I love Matt, but this is my favorite because it gives us an idea of where the competition is. Okay, I work in advertising for a living. And I would say a third of my job is always having an idea of what the competition is doing. Okay, so it's important. We can't truly know where we fall in the landscape of our conference and the rankings, all that, without knowing where the competition is. And so we rely on producer Keith for that, taking us around the ACC in 60-ish seconds. So Keith, the floor is yours, my friend.
Well, gentlemen, it was a lot less stressful of a week than we had earlier in the season. Only 6 ACC games this week. So was able to actually funnel this down to where it's a little bit closer to the 60 and a little less of the ish side of the 60-ish seconds. But without further ado,
there we go.
It's time to go around the ACC in 60-ish seconds. Here we go. Wake Forest hosted Clemson and had a lead after the first quarter. The beating that then followed was not suitable for public viewing. Clemson wins again 49-14. Jamal Haynes and his 170 rushing yards lead the Ramblin' Wreck over Sleepy Mac Brown and the North Carolina Tar Heels. Georgia Tech gets to 5-2 on the season. We got bad Stanford this week. They get pummeled into hamburger meat by Notre Dame 49-7. Louisville versus Virginia. A football game was played. And the Cards won. They said he lost his fastball. They said he couldn't do it the old way anymore. They said he couldn't play the hits. But Pat Narduzzi and the Pitt Panthers take the Calgorhythm down to the Allegheny River and baptize him and drag him through the mud to win ugly 17-15 as they finally get back to playing Pitt football. And finally, Kyle McCord and the Syracuse Orange hit the road to a once again sold out Carter Finley Stadium. And fellas, do you know what the M in Kyle McCord stands for? More passing yards. 346 through the air and 2 touchdowns as the Qs beat NC State 24-17.
I got a minute, 27 seconds.
Hey, man.
Stumbled a little bit out of the gate, but
60-ish.
it's always 60-ish.
Emphasis on the ish.
Exactly.
Hey, man, how about somebody else not being able to stop the quarterback run? North Carolina gives up 100-plus yards to Haynes King, man. 200-plus yard rushers.
2 over 100-yard rushers, man.
My favorite is Keith calling him Sleepy Mac Brown. That just fits so much.
Look, he's getting the benefit of the doubt right now. Anybody else would be fired at this point in the season, but they cannot fire him.
Do you think their AD is like, can we make sure all our games are at noon or 3:30? Because if it's 8, like, that's a little too late for our head coach.
That's right, man. Well,
I was going to say they missed their chance to get rid of him when George Costanza did after James Madison.
That's right, man. And it just has gotten worse and worse and worse.
I think he's politely asked to leave at the conclusion of the season. So
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. I'm trying to not stumble into territory.
Put him in a
jokes,
home where he thinks he's still coaching football.
That's the meme of wheeling the man into the home.
You don't have a conference game this week.
Oh, man. All right, well, let's transition into game balls here for Louisville football with their victory over Virginia. And while it was just a 4-point victory, we do still hand out game balls and victories, no matter the margin. And so, Vince, we'll start with you here. Remember, the rules are no repeats. We'll get into helmet stickers after. Give us your game ball, Vince. Where are you going?
Corey Thornton gets my game ball this week. The kid was a stud, flying all around the field the entire game, to the point to where I'm like, this is going to be awesome. But, like, at 1, I was wondering why he didn't get that interception, and then I realized we had a corner out there playing with the club on. I thought he was wearing a red glove the majority of the game, but once I saw him with a red club on, I was like, oh yeah, that's a DB I can get behind right there. Where are the stats on that? What do you have? 4 pass breakups.
4 pass breakups.
Yeah. So I mean,
should have had an
4
interception.
pass breakups. Yes, that's what I said. Should have had an interception, but he had a club on his hand. So
yeah,
benefit of the doubt there. Yeah, fun ball player to watch. I'm excited for the future with him for throughout the year.
Yeah, I don't know how loud that was. It just came through. My cat is going ballistic over here, man. Just fucking ballistic right now. Like
it was loud for a second there.
But, little inside baseball.
It went crazy. I don't know.
He liked it. Yeah.
He wants some of that corner attack blitz.
Yeah, right, man.
He wants some more cats.
More cat blitz.
No, little inside baseball. No, I heard that in the background. I'm like, is that his wife or his kid calling for him? I'm messaging him under like our little private chat. Like, hey, do we need to take a break for a bit? And he's like, my cat's going crazy. I'm like, that's a cat.
No, that's a cat.
Well, I'll take the ball then, and we will roll with probably the most obvious choice in my opinion. I'm not ashamed to take the easy way out. Isaac Brown, kid. I believe 20 carries, close to $150 on the ground, if I'm remembering correctly off the top of my head. Wins 24/7, true freshman of the week, putting together a hell of a performance. And yeah, if we can keep him, he's going to be a fun player to watch play for the Cards for the next 2.5 years.
It's almost like we should have took those 10 carries that we gave Don Chaney last week and gave Brown. We would have had a better shot at winning the game. But Jacob, go ahead.
Oh. Question for you guys. Would you be willing to sacrifice 5 Isaac Brown carries a game to get him returning kicks and punts?
I don't know.
He did fumble the kickoff return last week. That ended.
True.
Just go. So my thoughts on the return.
Track team, man.
My thoughts on the returns are their guys not blocking well enough. Like they don't have a shot at returning it to begin with, and that's the frustrating thing. That it's just annoying to be on a team with Jair Alexander to where we knew that if we just blocked our ass. I mean, granted, I wasn't out there to block, but guys knew that if they just blocked their ass off for him, the potential of him breaking for a touchdown is freaking huge.
We need 11 Travis Egan's. That's what I'll say. We need 11 Travis Egan's out there. If you watch a punt return or a kickoff return, Travis Egan is the first person to the football almost every single week. But that's a quarterback being – yeah. Last one here, game ball. I'm going to go with Jamari Johnson. And more so because of the fact that for him, redshirt freshman, kind of a name that was mentioned as potentially being a breakout star. He's had a season that's been good, but not great in terms of statistics, just not getting the targets that you would want probably, or what he expected for the amount of work and just how he's put, things into play this season. 11 catches for 140 yards. For him to have his head in the game, blocking the way that he did in this one, and then ultimately on the last play of Louisville's, offensive drive on that last the game-winning drive, makes that play, which he comes and obviously just doing exactly what the route, the way that it's supposed to be run to that back corner of the end zone. And thankfully Tyler Shuck saw him and was wide open, and they were able to give him the ball. But for him to only have 2 catches or maybe 1 catch, but only 2 targets in this one, it's just a shame, man. I think he should be starting to get 6-7 targets a game. I mean, I think he could be easily a 50-yard receiver every single week, just based off of his size. Get him the ball in space, man. Let him break a tackle. He is a mismatch everywhere he goes on the field, and I just don't think they're utilizing him well enough right now, in my opinion. I'd like to see more.
Well, I couldn't agree with you more. I gave him the game ball against SMU, I believe, and that was because of his blocking and how well. I think he only had like 1 or 2 catches that game too.
It's every game,
but nonetheless, like, he's a dude that you can't help but watch because he's making plays without the football, and that's special. I mean, it's awesome to see. I agree with you though. He needs to get the ball more.
Yeah, I feel like this could be a case of suffering from success because he's, like you've shown in the game notes segments, he's a damn good run blocker too.
Yeah.
So we're bringing him out and we're utilizing him a lot in the run game. And then with making substitutions, keeping guys fresh and changing personnel, I don't think he's getting enough opportunities in the passing game. But no, this is a kid who shouldn't be denied. Like, again, another guy, and with the caveat that we always have to put on young players now, like, pending he's here next year, he's going to be a guy, tight end 1, going to get a lot of looks. If not this season, I'm excited to see him next year.
Yeah. I asked you guys the question last week, what cornerstones did they have? And I know a week doesn't change the trajectory of years, but I think we're confident in saying that Isaac Brown and Jamari Johnson are two guys offensively that you can kind of hitch your wagon to and build around.
It's a pretty strong foundation. That's a pretty strong foundation right there.
Yeah. So, I mean, you'd like to see some of the other guys from those classes step up and build around them, but you feel really good about them. So shout out to Jamari for the game winner. And as far as helmet stickers go, guys that stood out this week, I'll just name a few that are on my list. Ramon Purier, again, as I mentioned, stacking up the statistics. Love to see it. I need a touchdown offensively. I need an interception to complement what he's got already. Ashton, as I mentioned, not a lot of sacks, but finally starting to get home. They're almost exclusively playing him outside again, and I think that's a better suit of where he should be until they get those really kind of.
There was a couple. Yes, I agree with you that he was outside a lot more this game, but there were 2 plays where he was standing up, and they were kind of moving him around. I think it was a zero tech tackle where he was literally like standing up, walking, like he was going to pick a gap. I hated that. I never run that again. Takes away all of Ashton's power, all of Ashton's speed. It's like, what are we doing with that? So,
I like him in that position, but if you're going to have him inside, have him in a 4-point so he can fire off the ball. And
like have him actually in the stance, not just walking around.
Can I also just take a moment here to acknowledge, and maybe this is just the fact that this is what it is, but there's no Mason Reiger this year, right? Like I don't mean to make that a bigger deal than what it is, but you're talking about the guy last year who was your second leading sack getter behind Ashton, had 5-6 sacks. They're missing him. Like they are missing somebody who can just win a one-on-one,
This
and
team would be a lot different with Ashton Gelati, or not Ashton Gelati.
Yeah, with Mason. Yeah. Right now, I'm just saying. And again, I don't mean to make a bigger deal out of that than what it is, but
I think you're spot on. That is a huge deal.
Yeah,
that was a loss that
shout outs. Yeah. So shout out to Mark Redmond again, not getting a target until late in the game. Outside of I think that pitch was actually after his first catch, but. I mean, I don't think he had a target in the first half, comes late in the game, and he always has that one bailout for Tyler Shuck every single week. Like, he bails him out on a 14, 15, 16-yard third down. Need more of it throughout the game. I just really hope that they can start to find a way to scheme the tight end open a little bit more in this offense. I think it will really unlock a lot. Keith, last one for me here, Tyler Shuck, the interception be damned, but I think besides that, he missed a couple of big plays down the field of guys running open, but for the most part, he was accurate. He took what was available to him. He didn't make a lot of mistakes. I think he's still showing that he is an NFL caliber quarterback, but you've got to scheme up more for him in the first half of a game. They waited until the first shot of the second half to go deep. I mean, I don't know what they're doing, man. The play calling just seems to be that they're doubting, second guessing, or overconfident in what they believe in at this team. And I really would like to see some changes over the next couple of weeks.
I agree. The last helmet sticker for me would have to be to Jared Dawson. I thought he, for the most part, had a pretty good game, and it's always nice to have that commanding force on the inside. Jared Dawson, I can't remember the other guy's name.
Jordan Girard?
Yes, Jordan Girard. Because I always struggle to say his last name.
It's nice to see him out there. Yeah.
So those 2 guys for me are
especially with no Renee Conga, getting him out there. Yeah. You add Renee back into the mix, and you're talking about the defensive line. Plus, Thor Griffith had a hello, Thor, you're still on this team moment, which was great to see. So, hopefully we can get more of those guys stepping up. Go ahead, Keith.
Yeah. So. And sort of to tie this back to the Ashton conversation, I feel like we're seeing him inside a lot less just because interior D tackle is probably the one area on the team where I'm not worried about the depth.
Right.
Like, we got a bunch of good D tackles. So
seriously. Like that's nice that's the first area or their biggest strength, honestly, in terms of depth.
Yeah, so just sort of doing the math of is the talent drop-off on the edge worth the drop-off or worth the gains in the middle if you're going to move Ashton around. So that could be a reason behind it. But a couple other helmet stickers. Vince, you stole your ad from me, but I'm glad.
Sorry.
Oh, it's all good. I'm just glad to see the kid get mentioned. Offensive side of the ball, Austin Collins, The O-line as a unit just gets bashed as a whole a lot this year. I will continue. If Austin Collins has one fan, that fan is me.
Oh, he's got two. He's got two. I'm right there with you.
Make that three.
I'm on that hill.
He
there we
has
go.
continued to just grind it out week in, week out and play well, especially for as influx as he's been his whole career. Like, oh, is he going to be the starter? Oh, he comes in last year out of an injury. Oh, well, is he going to have to battle and earn a spot again in training camp? And now it's like, oh, he's the top offensive lineman I believe in now. So
this is the best he's ever looked, man. He's like, he walks around and he looks like a Power 5 offensive lineman. And that wasn't the case 3 years ago.
Yeah, he's busting his ass, man. Like, kid's working hard, and I'm just here to acknowledge it. And then the last helmet sticker, Daniel Sparks. And you might be asking yourself, Daniel Sparks, who the hell is that? That's Virginia's punter. Gave Louisville fantastic field position on 2 separate special teams occasions. Damn near had a great play for Virginia with the first low punt that almost hit a guy in the back of the head.
Okay, are we going to shout out Vince on the Wednesday show just saying, who's their punter? What did I say? What did I say?
Well done, Vince. Like,
very
Vince
well
a helmet
done.
sticker too.
Yes, I love it. Not even like by name, just punter, just Virginia's punter. Like that's just it. Man.
I was right. Spot on.
Yeah, that's analysis for you right there. That's what you get with From the Pink Seats podcast, man. I love that. Okay, any closing thoughts on the Virginia game before we step to just quickly? We're not closing the book. We can't do that on this episode. But any last thoughts?
I have one closing thought, and I hate playing Virginia. I hate playing Virginia. They're always a team that scares the shit out of me every year, no matter how bad they are, because it always comes down to being a game like this.
My closing thought is I realized it after we recorded the episode, but I wanted to get it out on air as well. I'm aware Meet Virginia is a song by Train, not by John Mayer.
I'm honestly surprised you didn't take a little bit more flack for that, but I got to tell you, man, after the week last couple of weeks on social media for State of Louisville, I woke up to your tweet. I'm like, oh God, what do we do now? Like, somebody give me a break, man. I just need a break, please. Just 1 week, please give me a break.
Wait till you see what we have teed up for Wednesday.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Our weekly, how can we give Jacob a heart attack on Thursday morning? So let's quickly just look at Miami upcoming weekend for Louisville, number 6 in the AP polls. I think still tracking towards being the favorite to win the ACC and represent the ACC in the college football playoff. In my opinion, people keep talking about you're getting 2 teams in the ACC and getting 2 teams in college football playoff. No shot. Unless it's Clemson, but
I was going to say Clemson and Miami run the table and all the losses.
I don't think that I still see Clemson dropping another game this year. They always have that one, and I know that this year they got blown out by Georgia, but they always have that one game every year that they flirt way too close to the edge of losing, and I think that they're just not as good as they have been. So I'm not, and I as much as I don't believe in Miami, I don't also believe in Clemson. So it's just the ACC is kind of a overall. But anyways, Miami this weekend, noon. If you got time, you got nothing else, go. Be loud. Get there. Home field advantage. We need it because this is a damn good football team that comes in here undefeated. Overall at 6-0, I believe. Undefeated in the conference at 2-0. They've had some close calls. This is a winnable game, I will say. There's some close calls going down to the wire with Virginia Tech and California where Jim Phillips has to himself make the call. Please do not let Miami lose. And so this weekend with Louisville and the history that we've seen over the last couple of weeks, things ought to get interesting with the referees. I will just go ahead and say that now.
Leave this game into somebody else's hands. If you leave this game into somebody else's hands, you will lose. You will lose the game. Do not leave it up to them. You cannot be penalized. You cannot do stupid shit. You have got to be locked in for all 4 quarters of a football game.
Yeah. This is a team that, quite frankly, if they played in another conference, would probably be the number 2, number 3 ranked team in the country because ACC teams don't get the same benefit of the doubt of other teams. That's one thing that drives me nuts. Like, Miami went out and kicked the dog shit out of Florida. And everyone's like, oh, well, Florida's going to suck this year. Look at how Florida's played this year. They just took Tennessee, who was a top 5 team at the time, on the road into overtime. That's a damn good Florida team. And Miami walked into their house and beat their ass. They had a couple of close games, one traveling out to the West Coast, and are coming off a bye week. We're looking at a freight train, and we're standing right on the tracks. If we want to have a chance, we have to bring our A++ S rank game in every aspect. No mistakes. Have to stay focused. Need the fans to be there, be loud, be obnoxious. We need to have close to 60K in the barn. We need to be flirting with that attendance record again to actually have a home field advantage, because this is a damn good Miami team that if they can stay out, if Cristobal stays out of the way, this is a team that can win a national championship. Miami's that damn good.
You get in Cam Ward's head, I think you can win the game. You get him flustered, not necessarily. You get him flustered enough to where he is making bad decisions. He's angry, trying to do too much with his arm and his legs. That's whenever, we can start going at him.
Yeah, no, I totally see where you're coming from. But with this one, look, they are just stock full of talent, and they have had some injuries. I know Ruben Bain has been out the last couple of games. Tyler Barron, a familiar name to Louisville fans, has dealt with injury throughout the year. But you look at them offensively, it's not just Cam Ward, man. They have Damian Martinez, Jordan Lyle, Mark Fletcher, A.J. Allen. The covered is full. At running back just alone. And then I didn't even Restrepo, Jacoby George.
An 80-year-old tight end they have.
Yes, Cam McCormick, yes. Only 3 catches on the year, so that 8th year really paying off, man. You're really certainly setting yourself up for the NFL, buddy. But
I want to know his degree status.
Jeez, he better have that freaking Akoya Gal PhD at this point, man. But it's going to be interesting. The line opening at Miami minus 4.5 is baffling to me. I would have thought that had been closer to 10.5, 11, to be honest with you. But Louisville getting the favor there, so I'm no gambling expert, but I would probably tell you to go ahead and go to your local gambling app and take care of business on that one if you are interested in winning some money. That's just me. Hey, take the fandom out of it. I'm just telling you what I would do. And that sets us up for, predictions later in the week. And while I won't be on the show, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm taking Miami to cover that. If it's a 4.5 or anywhere close, it won't even be a question. I'm booking it now on a Sunday when typically you guys are hounding me 5 minutes before the show starts on Wednesday for that. So here's my answer. Miami cut, unless this doesn't get to if it's 12, 13, that's when I'll start to question this. But until then, that's Miami and all day long covering that. But it'll be interesting. I do think Louisville is hopefully going to play better being at home. I'm hoping for a great crowd. It is a nooner, but still, I'm hoping that with good weather and no other music events or bats games or racing Louisville soccer matches, that maybe we'll
get weekend, bro.
Yeah, we'll get 55 out there. We'll see. I mean, what was it, 54 for SMU? Maybe we'll get 55, 56 for 50
Miami. For SMU.
Wasn't the final announced attendance, though, at 54? Or am I tripping?
Nah, I thought it
was
50, 51, I thought.
I have all that weekend, so there will be some extra faces around town. So
yeah,
could be an extra 1,000.
And then the added bonus or the added motivation of the Miami guys and the Florida guys playing against Miami and being overlooked. So you better believe the Isaac Browns of the world and those guys are going to want to prove something against their hometown team. So all of that will definitely lead up to an interesting game this weekend. Don't miss this week, later on in the week, the preview show for the Miami game with Matt McGavick stepping in with the fellas and looking at some of Matt's stats and some of the other interesting notes leading up to the game of who to watch and some more specifics on Miami. And then, of course, next weekend, we will get into the Miami recap and head off towards Boston College. So we keep the season moving right along here. Thank you all so much for tuning in to From the Pink Seats podcast, the first and only Louisville football-specific podcast in the 502. Thank you all for helping us build that and continuing to produce the football content that we hope that you love and need each week. So, fellas, Miami this weekend. You guys will get back on the microphones, but I will not, so I will see you next week. And until then, go Cards. Here we go. Maybe. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go.
Here we go.
Got another one coming. Here we go. Here we go.